All right, what's up, boys? So some of y'all were asking to do a recap of this week's trades. Ended up passing one of my XFAs, and then also I'm now $1,000 away from passing this eval as well. So as you can see, no trades were taken at all on the XFA this week. There was one solid setup, but it was before I ended up passing this account, right? Other than that, this week was pretty mid. So yeah, let's just get straight into the trades, right? So going into Monday, you could see that we have this all-time high right here, right? And we have this small little 4 hour gap. I wasn't even really caring too much about it, but I was brought to the attention. There was a 4 hour gap right here. But just in the main context of things, we're inside this 4 hour gap right here. And, most likely all time highs are right there. If we get some good displacement off open, longs are clean, right? So what happened? We opened up. Hold up. All right, we opened up and yeah, so opened up right here and we had a 15-minute gap that could have possibly been respected, right? So we had this gap right here, and I was wanting to see some good displacement through it to confirm that we are going to go higher and target this all-time high, right? So what happened was off open, we ripped, okay? And this is where I entered on my evals, okay? So I entered on this retrace right here, okay? So put my stop loss in this area right here, targeting this high. See if I put on my executions, you can see it. So 15 contracts, and typically I do not like to trade off of open. Right here is 9:30, but typically, 2 to 3 minutes after market open, if a setup is pretty clean, then I'll take it. And as you can see, this setup was pretty clean. There was no retrace into this gap, which made it a valid eval setup, right? This would not be a trade that I would take on my XFA. This would not be considered my model. But if we retraced in this gap and got a really nice confirmation out of it, that would have been a beautiful A+ setup for me, right? Just based on how it would react. But, this is a really good eval trade, pumped off open. Most likely, if we're going to get a huge Diddy candle like this, 30 points, we're 30 points away from all-time highs. If we get multiple bullish closes like that, we're going to continue higher. I knew some people, they wanted to wait for the retrace in the gap, and I knew that most likely with how bullish price was, we're not going to retrace. As you can see, got tapped in right here, just put a little limit right here, and ended up leaving or getting out of the trade all the way up here for $1,500 profit. So that was the first trade of the week. Let's go on to the next one. Okay, so going on the hourly chart, you can see that the next day we just ripped lower. Okay. So the targets for this day was these 3 lows, okay? And going into this day, let me just get rid of these lines here. This is already done. Going into this day, I wanted to see all-time highs. Again, we're in all-time high conditions. I want to see, I would rather see it move higher. So what happened off open? We were sandwiched between these 2 gaps, right? This hourly gap and this hourly gap. So what I messed up with, and what should have been a trade that I should have taken, which was this was one A+ setup out of the week that was just beautiful, was this trade right here, right? So we were running down to the hourly gap, and typically, bro, when we're gonna displace like this, if we get an actual good retrace into the gap, it's not super bullish, and as you can see, we're kind of chopping around. It's not super bullish. We're not getting a huge retracement into the gap, a very strong retracement. Right, we're getting a pretty weak retracement, tap into the gap, and then we get beautiful displacement out of it, right? Most likely, we're going to inverse this hourly gap. When we're this close to the drawn liquidity, we're going to run to that drawn liquidity. Price does not care about that hourly gap, okay? So didn't end up taking this trade, so that's completely fine. But this was the one A+ setup this week, which was what trade that my mentor also took as well. So just learning lessons. But yeah, then later that day I ended up taking this trade. This would be a trade that I would never take on a live account or an XFA, but you see that all 3 of our draws were hit. Okay, and I ended up taking this on this eval, and put my stop right there. Oh shoot. And targeted this next low all the way down here, okay? And just again, this is just market experience. When 3 draws are hit, typically price goes to absolute garbage. Price action ends up chopping and we just go nowhere. this is not a very clear draw on liquidity, right? These are the main draws. Like that's just again based off market experience. Like typically we're going to run that much, we're going to dump that much as well. We're done for the day, okay? But I was like, okay, you know what? It's an eval. I really do not care. I just passed my eval yesterday. I'm $1,000 away from passing. Might as well just take the short, and that was a mistake. But you know, we just continue to rip lower. Like we swept this last draw on liquidity, and typically we'll just start chopping around. As you can see, that's what we did. But we continue to get good displacement past that low to the point where we were 60 points away from the next DOL. So I was like, okay, we got a good retrace. What happened? We tapped into those gaps, and this is like a framework of an A+ setup. The only thing that was bad with this trade was that we were overextended, and I went into the trade knowing that, okay? And it was, again, I would have never taken this on an XFA. I didn't take it on my XFA, but I was like, you know what, this will be a decent eval trade, let me just take it. And that's just a mistake I made. You know, doesn't matter if I'm on an eval or not. If we're overextended and we already hit most of the draw liquidities, most likely we're done with the day. Okay, it doesn't matter how clean price action is after we you know, swept all the targets. So we got tapped into this gap, really good closure, entered right here, and this is just a management issue as well. If you do for some reason take a trade that just looks super clean, kind of like this, past all the points where we hit all the drawn liquidities, right, which you shouldn't be doing, right? But if you do, just know that you need to see an immediate reaction. If you do not get an immediate dump off that gap, get out of the trade. If the moment that we start to chop, you're still in the trade, you're doing it wrong. So what happened? We swept this low. Typically, I'm not going to go break even at this low. I want to see a good, like, bearish close below this low to go break even, right? Just fully discretional. But what happened? We wicked it, and then we just continued to chop. I should have been out. And the candle that started to push higher right here, I put my stop loss to break even, but it was too late. Price just continued to run higher. So it's fine, right? That it literally happens. So that was a lesson that I learned for this small loss that day, which put me, I think, $1,000 away from passing the account. Or no, this is like I had $1,500 left to pass the account at this point. And then what is this? Going on to the next day. Yeah. So going on to the next day, we had this fat hourly gap. What happened off open? We ripped lower, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Easy draw on liquidities. These lows, and this low. Okay, what happened? We ripped, right? We ripped lower, and we get this clean setup. Okay, I didn't take this on my XFA simply because of how we reacted, and also my mentor, he went in not full size on his XFAs, but he went in with small position size simply because of how price is moving. Right? Yes, this is moving really cleanly off of open, kind of like the prior day, as y'all saw, or 2 days ago, the one that had the A+ setup that one day. We rejected off the hourly gap, retraced the 1 minute gap, but what happened after that? We started to move slower, right? We were moving slower than the retrace. The retrace is stronger than the continuation out of it, which is typically what you don't want to see, right? And again, it's just fully based off market experience. Like, this is a stronger, you know, retrace than this choppy and slow continuation. So what I do, I didn't enter right here. That would be fraud. I entered right here because with a bearish candle this, you know, far down and this like this nicely, okay, we're gonna go lower. So I had a safe stop all the way up here. Went for a 1-to-1, and actually I entered like a little bit before here. You could see. I started actually entering a lot. Yeah, so I started entering this candle right here, and as we started to push down, I entered in a full 30 contracts and made $1,200, right? So that was an eval trade. Again, I wouldn't even really take this on the XFA. Some people did, but even my mentor, he went in light risk simply because of how slow price was moving. So good day, though. That was the second win of the week. And then Thursday, wait, this is Wednesday. Yeah, Thursday, there's nothing even to really review on Thursday. I was $500 away from passing the account, and I was like, you know what, let me just take a random trade to the draw on liquidity. I don't care about any of my guidelines or anything. I'm $500 away. Let me just get in a quick scalp. So what I do, I kind of cooked myself. So, okay, here it is. I found it. So, yeah, like, again, I literally went into this trade knowing it was garbage. Price action was absolutely fraud. We literally inversed this 5 minute gap down here. Yes, the draw on liquidity was pretty clean, but we just swept the internal high right here, as well as we inverses 5 minute gap. So like there's nothing to even go into this trade about. Like y'all should know that this entry is fraud. This trade is fraud. But I personally just did not care. I was like, bro, like you know what? It's going to, like most likely it's going to play out to all time highs. Like yes, the entry is extremely fraud. My stop loss isn't safe. Price action isn't good. Like all these different things. Like it completely negated all of my criteria for a lenient eval trade, right? Which y'all have saw what I've been taking every single day this week, right? Which is just more free trades. And what happened? I passed accounts. I've been winning more than I've been losing. And again, I just took a stupid trade. Went into the trade knowing, oh, this is just gonna be a quick scalp. I don't really care about anything, and that's what happens. So if you have guidelines for your obviously I didn't take this on XFA either, but if you have guidelines for your eval setups and like what you at least need to see, follow it. Unless if you have like literally like $100 left until you pass. Okay, if you have like $100 left to pass, then yeah, you can kind of do some like stupid stuff like this as long as you're not risking too much. You risk $100 to make $100 pass the account. That's fine. But if you're like $500 away, bro, might as well just wait, be patient, and wait for your criteria to be filled out with your eval, because what if saving $500 and tomorrow or Monday I could pass the account with $500. So it doesn't really matter. Again, I'm only one trade away from passing the account. So going into this week, going into next week, I'll be able to most likely pass the account, Lord willing. But you can see right here, off market open, price action was garbage today. I didn't even trade today. I said, you know what? I'm done for this week. I've traded more than I ever have just because of the criteria of the evals. It has changed. Obviously, it is working way better, but I'm just not used to trading this much. So once I get on XFAs, once I'm able to pass this account, I'll finally be able to hop on both accounts, copy trade them, and just be super patient and trade low frequency once or twice a week. So with that being said, I didn't trade it all today, and I'm glad I didn't because this is just fraud. So yeah, if y'all have any questions, leave them down in the comments. I'll try my best to answer, as well as I will leave my Discord in the description. So that's going to wrap it up. Hopefully y'all had a good trading week this week, and I will see y'all boys next week. Peace out.